Hey everybody, this is Drew. Welcome back to my channel. So in this video we're going to build this Hasegawa Tomcat Eggplane. And you might be wondering what an eggplane is. Well, there's cute little models that Hasegawa makes, and they come in many different variants. So they have jet planes, World War II planes, and we have a yearly group build that's hosted by Charlie Mack and Daniel, and I'll put a link to their channels in the description. But this is my entry. This is the Tomcat model, and these are great little kits. I know that you might be dismissing these as just a novelty or whatever, but they're really fun to build. They're relaxing. They're not very expensive at all, and if you have kids and you want to try to get them into modeling, this is a great way to go. So you can get these egg planes on Amazon or Sprue Brothers, but yeah, check these out. These are great. And so just take a look at the kit, and we have nicely printed decals. This comes in 2 squadron markings, Jolly Rogers and the Tomcatters, and you don't get a lot of parts, which is okay. That's why it makes them great for kids. So yeah, so we get started on the fuselage here, and just removing the parts. So the kit gives you this piece of plastic that goes in the nose, and it's supposed to be a weight to keep it on its, to keep it from falling back and sitting on its tail. And I trusted it, thought maybe it would work, but it doesn't. And so you need to add a little bit more weight to the nose to keep it from tilting back on its tail. And so yeah, just add some lead weight or something to the front, and don't rely on that plastic that it gives you in the kit. So I'm just going to use some Tamiya extra thin cement to glue these 2 fuselage halves together. There's a seam that runs down both sides after you finish, but just needed to sand it out. You didn't need to use any filler, or at least I didn't have to. And then I'm going to move on to installing the vertical stabilizers. So the next part of the instructions is to assemble the engine intakes. And what I'm doing here is I'm gluing on the front compressor fans to basically the afterburner. And so once you glue these on, you just mount them to the rear of the engine intakes. But what I want to know is, will these fit after I glue the engine intakes on the fuselage, if that makes sense. So I'm going to put these on, test fit, and then see if this will fit, and it does. So I'm not worried about that because I want to paint them separate. I'm going to keep them off to the end because I like to also have a nice opening in the back to stick something in there, so that would hold the model while I do all the painting and stuff. So that's what I'm doing. So right now I have to put the wings on, and these are the retractable wings, and you don't glue them, just stick them on there, and then you're going to glue around them and put the intakes over them. And now they do move back and forth, but there's not a lot of clearance, so basically you just got to kind of leave them in the open position, but you can move them So yeah, I'm just using some thick cement here, and I'm going to put the bottom half of the intakes on, and it should be a good fit. Yep. Gotta watch what you're doing sometimes. So you just stick those there, put those on there. And that's why I like to use some of the thicker, slower set liquid cement. That way it gives me a little bit of time to work with, and then I can come back and fill in any gaps with some extra thin. But here's the other side, and so I'll get those on, and we can move on to painting. All right, so I've got everything assembled. So now I'm going to prime the model, and I'm using my Stynylrez gray primer, which I really love. And I've mounted my Eggplane on a stick, and as a nice holder, you just wrap some tape on the end of a bamboo skewer chopstick, and you can hold your plane. I'm also going to prime all the little parts, and you also got to paint the cockpit. And so I'm using Vallejo's dark gold gray, but as you can see, it's hard to see in the video, there's not much difference between that and the primer. And then I need to put the instrument panel decals on, because I need to put the canopy on, and before I put the base color on. So I'm doing that right now. Let's get these little decals on. These decals are a little thick, but they go down okay, and they're easy to manipulate a little bit. So there we go, got them in there. This kit doesn't have a pilot. Most of the Eggplane kits have a figure, which they're pretty cool. But this one doesn't, because the Tomcat had two folks in the cockpit and the rear seat. You have the pilot and the Rio. There's just not room for them to make one. So here I'm just putting the canopy on, and I have masked it. I did that off camera. I'm just using white glue because it works really well and it's easy to clean up. It kind of fills in the edges a little bit. You just wipe it up with some water and a Q-tip. And so now I'm just giving everything a coat of Vallejo's light gold gray, and this whole model is painted in that color. You do see I did mask off an area around the intake area where the afterburners go. I painted that silver, and I didn't do that on camera, so I masked it off. And let me give it a coat here of Vallejo light gold gray, which I really like. So. So I'm just going to use some Vallejo white to paint the landing gear, the gear doors, the missiles, the drop tanks, and I like to leave things on the sprue when I can. It just makes everything easier to handle, and otherwise I just use clothespins to hold things. And I'm also going to use some Tamiya rubber black to paint the tires. I've got these mounted on cocktail sticks with a little bit of sticky tack, and this is how I like to do the wheels. Once I paint them black, I just use the circle template, find the right size, and find something to hold your tire there. So I'm using this foam, and just put that on there, give it a spray, and it usually works for me. So that's what it comes out looks like. So not bad. I decided to go with the Tomcatters. Reason is I have a couple models already in the Jolly Roger scheme, and my daughter built this kit a few years ago, and she did the Jolly Rogers, so we like to kind of put our models together on the shelf, and I'm going to do the other scheme that comes in the kit. So this is the Tomcatter Squadron, and this is from the USS Forrestal, and it actually says it on the tail decals. I'll have some up-close pictures toward the end, but I always like the Felix the Cat, and I'm sure this squadron goes back probably to World War II, I'm sure. So I think it looks pretty cool. So I finished putting the decals on off camera. Now I'm going to move on to final assembly. So I'm going to put the these afterburners in, and I didn't get the painting on the camera, but I painted the afterburner part, and I think it was some MIG burn iron and jet exhaust, and so I was going to use a little super glue to glue the landing gear parts on and the landing gear doors, with the little sidewinders that go into the sides of the landing gear doors. And it also has Sparrow missiles that are attached to the landing gear doors, and so you'll see that here in a second, but otherwise pretty straightforward. Sometimes you got to use always test fit first. I found that sometimes the holes weren't quite as big that I needed to be, so you just take your knife or something and you just be careful, but ream it out a little bit, make it a little bit bigger so your landing gear goes in, and there, that should work. I have left is take off the canopy masks, and I lost a little bit of paint on the front. So that's okay. I just took a little brush and went back over some of the framing on the front of the canopy, and it looks just fine. So I really enjoyed building this. They're a lot of fun. It came out pretty good, and don't worry about weathering these. You don't need to. They're just, you know, kind of they're novelties, but they are a lot of fun to build. And again, don't dismiss them. Especially if kids are a great way to get kids involved in modeling. And yeah, so my little Tomcat. And if you like my video, please consider subscribing. I do appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up. And at the very end, I'll have some videos popping up on the screen if you'd like to check those out as well. I did build a Tomcat about a year ago that I'm really proud of, and it's getting a lot of views, so I'll put that on there as well. But guys, take care, enjoy it. Thank you, Charlie and Daniel, for hosting this group build, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.